right. Hey, everybody. So we've had Reaper for a week now. I want to check in with you guys and talk about how my Reaper is going. What are some of the things that I prioritized? What are the ways that I'm growing my Reaper? And what are some of the things that I'm learning as I'm playing the class that I found helpful? So to start out, I had a live stream where I was just honing my Reaper on character creation, and this is basically where we ended up at. We hit 1490, which was basically the wall since we couldn't get our legendary gear past plus 20. We had a few extra materials, a little bit here and there, but this was basically where we were going to be, and I'm pretty happy with that. All the rest of my gold from this point on is actually shifted away from honing. I'm trying to sell my leap stones and all my materials and stuff like that to do things like get engraving books and set up my accessories for 5x3. So that was basically like my goal across the week. So here's where we are in terms of that. 1490, we pre-bought some of these relic accessories, and we're using 2 legendaries. So right now, this is what our engraving set looks like. We have 4x3 and a +1 with Cursed Doll. Now, this is really useless and not a very good idea to do, but I personally don't really care because I'm going to be playing with Cursed Doll eventually, and I know that I'm not really going to gas out in any of the raid fights currently. In any of the fights that we're doing. So I was pretty confident putting this Cursed Doll on, and it would just make my transition into 5x3 much more convenient, but this was not put there intentionally because it was going to give me some kind of benefit or something like that. This is the engraving set that I ended up at. Now, I was just basically within the week, I was just able to finish my legendary Lunar voice. And it's been really helpful with the event and the gold stuff going on. The books have been a little bit cheaper, even though Lunar Voice was the most expensive out of those. Now, the next thing that I'm looking to do is buy a relic ring with Cursed Doll and Lunar Voice on it. And it could be anything from 3 Lunar Voice, 3 Cursed Doll, and it could be any combination beyond that, right? So it could be 4 Lunar Voice, 3 Cursed Doll. It could be 5 Lunar Voice, 3 Cursed Doll. It could be 4 Cursed Doll, 3 Lunar Voice, right? Any combination of those would be fine for one of the rings, and then the second ring needs to have Ambush Master and Cursed Doll, and then the amount would depend on what the relic ring was. So those are kind of like the 2 last accessory pieces that I'm going for. That will round out my 5x3, and hopefully the specialization will get kicked up to 1650 or something like that. I really want to try to get as much specialization as I can, because as bracelets are going to be introduced, I want to try to break that 1700 plus specialization window with Lunar Voice. I guess it goes without saying now that we're a bit into the video that I did end up choosing Moon or Lunar Voice, more because I thought it was a little more interesting for me to learn. I also have actually, I wonder if I can show you guys this. So I have a hunger build here as well. It's also 4x3 +1. It looks a lot more normal. It's adrenaline 1 on here. But I'm probably not going to progress this build as much. If you guys were curious about it, it's got 1622 swiftness. This is pretty fun to play too. I'll probably visit this at some point in the future after I have progressed my Lunar Voice up to a certain degree. But I did build both. I have been trying both. I've been doing Kundaliniums on both a little bit here and there, but I'm basically focused on Lunar Voice for now. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is just getting used to the Lunar Voice rotation and some of the things that I noticed when I was playing the class, and then maybe just like document some of the things that I thought were interesting, and hopefully this would be helpful to you guys in terms of like figuring out how you want to play the class. The first big thing is I personally really like Black Mist. The biggest reason is because I feel like, especially at lower specialization values, which I feel like is very prominent for my Reaper right now, for 2 reasons. The meter generation, I think, first of all, the tripods are something, right? I have Charge Shadow level 4 on both of these things, which is pretty good, but I also don't have the second purple wealth rune, which I think is also really big. The fact that I have 2 legendary rings puts me at 1600 specialization, which actually isn't the worst for specialization with legendary accessories, but people will definitely have lower than this. I recommend you give Black Mist a try. Let me show you what Black Mist actually does here. So I'm gonna use my identity and just throw away one of my swoop skills, my red skills, and then when I use Black Mist, see I can hold it, but I don't actually need to go the whole way, and it pretty much fills me up here, right? It pretty much gives me an entire bar of my identity gauge. The way that I like to think about the Moon Reaper rotation right now, the best way that I can think about it is how many times do I need to use Shadow Vortex to gain my full bar, okay? So this is what I mean. I'm going to empty my gauge, and the best way that I can gain full bar is by using Shadow Storm and then one use of Shadow Vortex. I have to left click it a little bit, but that's fine. And that basically fills up my entire gauge so that I can go into another identity and use a swoop skill. So let's do that again. One Shadow Storm, Vortex, and I fill up the meter, right? So this combination of Shadow Storm and Shadow Vortex, this is kind of like the underpinning of the Lunar Reaper rotation. I use those two abilities, I go into stealth, I use my skill, and I do it again. And then I can immediately stealth again, right? This is the quickest way that I can do it. Now, outside of Shadow Storm, when Shadow Storm is on cooldown, as it is right now, if I use a red skill, the next way I do it is I use Black Mist. I can use it up to about the A, and then I use one Shadow Vortex, and I'm back into stealth again. This is why I really like the Black Mist skill, because in combination with Shadow Storm, Black Mist gives me a second attempt at getting into stealth very, very quickly. Other side benefits of Black Mist is that you can move around while you're using it. You can go through the boss while using it. Obviously, for a back attack class, that's very useful. I just think it's a really, really good skill overall. So in terms of building meter, I'm always thinking about how many uses of Shadow Vortex. In this case, with Shadow Storm and Black Mist, it's just one Shadow Vortex at the end. Let's try to pretend that we're going to do like a 2 red skill rotation. I'm going to use Shadow Storm, Shadow Vortex. It's going to build the meter. I can use one. I use Black Mist up until halfway. That gives me a second one. I feel like that's pretty good, especially at 1600 specialization. That's not bad. And without having that additional purple wealth rune, that's not bad. Now, here's the part that gets tough right now. I haven't really been able to find many optimizations for myself with the specialization that I have and the wealth runes that I have. But basically, when both Black Mist and Shadow Storm are down, I have to go through 2 Shadow Vortexes to build my meter. So let's show what that looks like. I'm going to empty my gauge. I need to use Shadow Vortex. I use Nightmare twice and Distortion. Then my second Shadow Vortex gets me just about there, and I need to poke it a little bit. And then that builds my last set of meter. So that's where most of the time, I think, that's where I lose the most time, is on that third rotation of stealth when both Black Mist and Shadow Storm are down. That's when I really have the most problems. But other than that, I think the rotation goes fairly smoothly, especially if I'm going into a situation with full bar. You know, if I'm entering like a burst phase with full bar, it's pretty good because I use my first red skill, I can use Shadow Storm, I can use my second red skill, and then the third one I can just use Black Mist, right? And then we use a third red skill, and now my red skills are on cooldown anyways, right? So there's no real rush. So I actually like can build up my meter in like a relatively decent enough time to catch the cooldown for when something like Rage Spear comes back up. So that's not that bad. One of the other reasons why I think it's so good to tie your meter generation to your usage of Shadow Vortex is it's just a really easy way to make sure that your synergy is on. On the stream when I was learning a class, the tooltip was very confusing, and there was also a commenter on my videos that mentioned as well that the damage portion, so if you see I used Shadow Vortex twice and 2 debuffs appeared. One is the dot damage, right, corrosion, and then one is the synergy, which is physical magic defense minus 12%. You don't actually need to stack your corrosion up to 3 stacks to put the 12% debuff on the enemies. You just need to hit them once with this. So that's really the most important part. And what's really convenient, as I was saying about making sure you tie your Shadow Vortex to your meter building rotation, is you just always make sure to refresh that synergy before you go into the stealth, so your red skill gets the synergy on top of it, right? So for example, if I empty my gauge and I use my Shadow Storm, Shadow Vortex combo, you'll notice that it puts the synergy on, and I can go into stealth, and now my red skill gets the benefit of that synergy. So very convenient, very easy. Obviously, to upkeep it, you can also use Nightmare. The first hit of Nightmare puts it on. I actually don't think the follow-up refreshes it. Yeah, so you see the follow-up doesn't actually reapply it. And then also to know for Shadow Vortex, you need to do the 2-hit combo, right? If I just hit it with one, you notice that it doesn't put any debuffs on the boss. You need to do both hits of it. And that's when that'll happen. So make sure you do both hits of Shadow Vortex. That's basically it. There's going to be more streams of me doing raids on Reapers, so make sure you guys tune in. If you have any other questions, let me know. The things I'm looking forward to doing in the future on my Reaper is going to be getting my 5x3. Finishing my relic set is going to be really important. And then improving all my tripods. So Glowing Brand is actually pretty good. It's at 445. I'd rather have Vital Point Hit maxed out right now, so that's going to be the big one that I'm looking for. My Rage Spear is at 434, which could be better. And then my Dance of Fury is all 4s, so I'm really eager to try to get all of these tripods up to level 5. And then obviously the Charge Shadow ones here to level 5. These are the ones that I'm like really looking forward to. Make sure that you guys are leveling up your Reaper. Make sure you're using your Stronghold training to get as much EXP as you can. It'll improve your damage output. It'll let you get to level 11 and level 12 skills, and it'll also give you more skill points for more flexibility. In the future, I'm probably going to try to mess around with some of these skills with Distortion. I've been thinking about dropping Distortion much later on when I have more specialization to try to make builds that get a faster third cycle. Until I get enough levels for the skill points to do that, it's not really relevant. I also need more specialization in the wealth rune to think about it, so those are other things that I'm looking forward to. And of course, just like all my Arcana videos that I did in this fashion, you know, wrap up all these videos with a Kundalanium run. So Kundalanium can be fairly nice for positionals, depending on how the fight plays out. We don't have a support, so I might be a Floor Reaper here. Ooh, and I didn't take off my purple potions, but let's get started. Media generation. See, I just used one Shadow Vortex, and I'm in there. I shouldn't have used Rage Spear. I should use my Destruction skills. So Glowing Brand, and now I need to do the long combo here. My second Shadow Vortex allows me to go into stealth, right? That's really the timing, right? Do I use one Shadow Vortex to build my meter, or do I use two? And that's basically like the difference maker here. It's all looking pretty good. Oh, the turtle walked away. Dash away from that. Past him, get behind. Shadow Storm. Spacebar away. Use Destruction, Black Mist, get it to halfway in Shadow Vortex. Then roll this way. I'm gonna use Rage Spear here. QQ, use Destruction, Shadow Storm, Glowing Brand. Nice. Look, we're like cycling pretty well, right? I think it makes the rotation very understandable when you use Black Mist, because you can always just kind of like Shadow Storm Vortex and then Black Mist Vortex, and it's really simple. I think as I get more specialization, I maybe want to include Shadow Trap because I might cycle fast enough that would be relevant. That was one of the things that I wanted to replace this with. Oh, should be careful here. Now we have our Awakening as well. Oh, we didn't get the counter. Distortion here. No, no! Oh. Oh, I stepped on the thing. Nice. It's going well. Oh, he's blasting us. Okay, yep, perfect. Perfect. Maybe we can counter it. No. Oh, I got frozen again. Perfect. This is classic Reaper gameplay. Freezing my teammates, stepping on geysers. So I want to use my Awakening here. But I can use Shadow Storm, Black Mist. Oh, block. It's okay, purely for academic purposes. You know what I'm saying? So when the third cycle becomes faster, one of the things to think about as well is like the cooldowns of your red skills are always set. So the faster you build meter, there could be a world where you build meter too fast and nothing is off cooldown yet. And when that time comes, I think that's just something that you'll have to live with. But you definitely want to make your rotation faster because it'll fit in better with support buff timings and with atropine potions and stuff like that. That cycle of how your burst plays out is really important. That was a very rough run of Kungalanium, but lots to work on. Obviously, Kungalanium is pretty simple, pretty easy. When we get into a raid, it'll be much more complicated. So if you guys want to watch that, make sure to tune into streams. All right, guys, let me know how far you got your Reapers and if you chose Lunar or Hunger and how you guys are enjoying it. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, let me know. Oh, also, in terms of Lunar Voice builds, I'll just put a link to the Google document that I was using that just had a lot of information about the tripods and the builds. So if you guys have any questions for like, oh, what tripods do you use and stuff like that, you can basically refer to that document. So look into the description for that link. All right, cheers, guys.